Now, get ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Heavy Hockey Podcast. We are already a few games into the season, and I've got as my guests a couple of guys from Edmonton area that run the YEGSports podcast. I've got Ryan Mackney and Ethan Bayduza with me today. Welcome, guys. So, we're here to talk some hockey, and I think it probably it's your first time on the show tonight, and the challenge obviously is when you join a show for any time, it's easier to do it after a win. Actually, I might even I might say it's actually harder to do it after a win because there's less to complain about. But we, as Oilers fans, we certainly always have our fair share of losses to talk about. So we've got we're 8 games into the season, 3 wins, 5 losses. I think that's about it is a seventh of the way into the full season this year.
Wow!
When the Oilers wake up tomorrow morning, they are in a playoff spot, but there's a lot of teams with games in hand. So, first off, I think I've had a chance to go back and listen to some of the YEGSports pods. Guys, you're doing a good job. When you did the season opener, now maybe I'll put this out to Ethan. Where'd you have the Oilers? What were you thinking the Oilers would be game 8 into the season?
Oh, well, before I go, I just want to air a grievance. Kind of sandbagged us, putting us after Reed Wilkins. How are we supposed to follow that up? By the way, I don't know if Reed listens to the show, but I'm a huge fan. Yeah. I just want to put that out there.
I'm not sure Reed listened to the show he was on.
But I mean, game 8, I hate to be this guy, but none of this really means anything. When the Oilers are in the Stanley Cup Finals in July or whatever it is, no one's gonna be like, oh man, 3-5 or whatever it was to start the season. Like,
I mentioned we're recording right tonight, Ethan. Did I tell you that? Anyway, carry on.
But the Oilers are, over the last couple of years, have been a team that build their way up throughout the season, and especially Nugent Hopkins is a notoriously slow starter. McDavid always turns it up in the last month of the season. When Draisaitl scored 50 goals, I think like 10 or 15 of them were in the last couple weeks of the season. So, as much as we could dwell on, the first 8 games, and I'm sure we will because there is plenty to complain about, but I'm not worried. All
right. No, you know what? That's fair. I completely disagree with you, but we'll get to that. and Ryan, go ahead. What's your thought? 8 games in.
Okay, well, out of our first 8 games, 6 of them have been against the top 3 teams in the division so far. So the schedule, you could argue, has been rough. That being said, I expected us to be in much better shape. 4th out of 7. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at points percentage, looking at how we've played. I'm looking at some just disastrous outcomes in the defensive zone. I don't know. I'm not worried, I wouldn't say, but I expected a lot better at this point in the season. Just throughout the lineup. And so, yeah, I'm really, it's only going to be maybe if we're not 500 by game 16, I'm going to be kind of worried. I might be kind of down. I might be oh, this is going to be another one of those long seasons. I don't know. I don't know how much more I can take of 3-5 hockey before I start losing it. But yeah, I'm not super worried yet. I did expect better through the first 8 games.
So I was listening to Low Tide today, either Low Tide or Gregor. I can't remember now. One of them was comparing I hate to say it, it might have even been Stauffer. One of them was comparing where we're at this season so far with where we were at last season at this point. If you go comparable, a seventh of the way into the season, and the point percentage is roughly the same. And if you recall, of course, before we went into lockdown mode, the Oilers were in a playoff position. So it really wasn't, last season was a good season by all accounts, right? I think, going into, that's the, that's the crazy thing about being an Oiler fan is we finally have a chance to make playoffs for the second time in, it seems like 2 decades, and pandemic, totally just kills us. So, whether we're slow starters or not, we did start 5-0, right? And then we get a bad break. You're right. We're 8 games in. Maybe it's not time to necessarily panic, but there's certainly some really bad areas of this team today. One of the things I thought maybe we could talk about, because I know you guys are fans of the Low Tide. You had him on a collab episode that you guys did, right, recently. He came up with something that, I'm a little bit mad at myself. I never thought of as well. And today he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, you're not going to like what I have to say, but this is the solution. And the solution in Low Tide's mind is to put RNH as center on the third line. So I'm going to put that out to you guys, because this, you know what? It was him and McCurdy talking about it. And so they had a chance to talk about it. I didn't get a chance to hear anybody else's comments about it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And I'm just springing this on you. So, it's the first time you heard it, but as soon as he said it, I thought, I'm kicking myself, because I think he's right. And I would have told you last night, as I was tweeting from my armchair watching the game, that Tippett should put back the dry line, right? Put RNH back with Draisaitl and Yamamoto, because that line obviously is, the best line in the league, bar none. But I like this idea, because we know Turris has been awful. We know the bottom 6 has been awful. And we know McDavid, whether he loves it or not, could do well with Nygaard up there and Puljujarvi or whichever. He could do better with a different combo. But it might give you that third line. Nuge is, he's great defensively. He's good offensively. Okay, I'm going to let it jump ball, guys. What do you think?
Okay, I need to hop in, because I feel like I need to defend Kyle Turris a little bit. He hasn't been great, but some of the
So just
stuff I've been
before you
reading on
go
Twitter.
into the defend part, you usually you don't start a defense by saying he hasn't been great, right?
But okay, here's what I'll say: Kyle Turris, in terms of production, he's shooting 10%, right, which is basically his career mark. It's not like he's struggling. I think part of the reason is he's playing on a third line now, which most of his career he's been a top 6 forward.
It's a different role altogether. Yeah, absolutely.
He's just not getting the minutes that he was getting in, especially in Ottawa and a little bit in Nashville. So and
if I can build on that for a second, Tippett has been using him a little bit for defensive zone faceoffs. He's been using him like we used Riley Sheahan, and that's just not quite his role. So I feel like he's struggling offensively from less minutes, and defensively from just not being put in a position where more offensive-minded forward usually ends up. That being said, I do think Turris has been pretty bad. But
so here's here was Low Tide's counter to that, which might work, is put him on the wing, right? Throw him on the wing with McDavid, right? You throw Nuge back on the third line at center. I'm not. You know what? I mean, I want to know what you guys think right now. Right? Like, to me, this is maybe the only solution that I've heard that carries any weight right now until we get Haas back, which who knows when that happens. But I can't think of another solution other than, I would have told you yesterday. I would have said, well, that third line was really good. And then Bruce McCurdy, who's about as rational a fan as you'd ever listen to, and as analytical a watcher of the game as you'd ever listen to, he brought up a good point, and which is like Cassian didn't have any chances last night that weren't because of Draisaitl. So it wasn't really the third line. Like, yeah, he was playing third line, but he was coming on the tail end of a Draisaitl shift, and Draisaitl was feeding him the puck. So yeah, that wasn't really the true third line that was, having a good game.
Yeah.
That was Cassian and Draisaitl having a good game.
And I do like the Nugent Hopkins suggestion. One, because it's out there, it's creative. Whoever came up with that was really thinking. But I think it solves a couple of problems. The third line's getting killed 5-on-5 for the Oilers. I don't remember what the totals were, but they're getting absolutely destroyed. So you put Nugent Hopkins on that line, and all of a sudden you're improving both offensively and defensively. So I could see it. That being said, Ryan Nugent Hopkins is our third best forward. I don't know how I feel about him playing third line minutes. Obviously, he's still going to be on the top power play. He's still going to be killing penalties, but I'm of the belief that you want your best guys out there as much as possible. And if he's playing on the third line, I don't know if that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nuge, and I would love to see him, getting more minutes. But I mean, if you would have asked me this idea like 3 games ago, I would have said no. McDavid needs a winger. But I think Puljujarvi might have that. Okay, I think McDavid might have a competent winger in Puljujarvi. So if those two can click, it doesn't really matter who's on the left side. You mentioned Nygaard. That's a fast line. And so in that way, like Nuge on the third line might not be the worst idea. Also, I hate to bring this up, but you give him less minutes, less production.
I know where you're going with this. Yep.
Less contract money. Maybe you can get him for cheaper. I don't know.
Not with Seattle coming into the league. Unfortunately, I just don't think. I think that's the that's the part that you've got to put into practice or into thought is with Seattle coming into the league. I mean, that's putting a lot of pressure on the contract side, and people will know what he's capable of.
Totally.
And a 56-game season's not going to change that. I also think, and this is my thought. I mean, if you do it, and first and foremost, I think this is kind of academic because I can't see Tippett at all going with Nuge on the center. But
trying anything creative at all.
You know what I mean?
Heyo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did finally break and put Puljujarvi up, right? And I think most of us were pretty surprised by that. And he made a change after a win. I don't know, many of us were questioning what the reasons were. I don't think coaching's the problem, though, really. I mean, this is not...
I think it is a problem. I don't think it is the problem, but some of the decisions have been making me go, And it's simple stuff like leaving the Winnipeg game with a timeout. Like I don't. It baffles me some of the. And then taking Slater Cuckoo out because you want more puck movement. I don't know. What do you guys think? These just. I don't know.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Last season, Tippett never changed the lines after a win, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like last season, if we won, it would be the same. And so that's why the Winnipeg second game really blew my mind. We won. I understand that our bottom six was still obliterated that game, but if you win, I don't know why you make such drastic changes. Yeah, I would have called a timeout. I would have left Cuckoo in. I probably would have left Shore in. I think Shore's been all right, but I really want to get Gaetan Haas back. If when Gaetan Haas is healthy and if he's scratched instead of playing, that's when coaching's a problem for me.
Yeah, I think Ethan, you might have said it best. It's not the problem, it is a problem. I think there are some decisions that Tippett's kind of made you shake your head a little bit. And they started, I had a lot of faith in him until the play-in round, where he just seemed to be playing hunches rather than, solid coaching sense. And, he's kind of, it feels, and Tippett's a good hockey mind, but it feels like he's doing that, again, early on in the season. But the challenge being, of course, you had no preseason games, and now you end up 3-5, 8 games in, and you're struggling to find a chess piece that, moves the direction you want it to move. And hey, it's easy enough for us from the sidelines, but and then, I think the other challenge that folks are, bringing into the picture is you've got these guys running on a taxi squad, right? And they can't just sit there getting stale the whole time they're there, right? You have to, in some ways, freshen that up, and that might be one of the other challenges we have is some of these guys are not. I thought Patrick Russell was all right last night.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
But Kara, on the other hand, I mean, there's a reason there's a reason why he and probably a lot of people be upset at me, but he and Ennis clear waivers, right? They don't have what it takes to be on any other team's, bottom six right now. Not in the North Division anyway, right? Like, and Kara, a lot of time and energy has been spent on him, and he just hasn't seemed to. In fact, he's gone down because a couple seasons ago, I mean, we thought this was a guy that was going to be a difference maker on the bottom six for this team, right? Yeah. And you just want them to have, at least even goal differential, hopefully positive, but even would be,
yeah,
and they're not even close. Anyway, coaching's definitely been a problem. I think to some extent, he just seems so darn stubborn when it comes to certain things.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Like, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
but
no.
I said this. I said this on our show. Dave Tippett's not stupid. He's just very stubborn. And I can tell because I am a stubborn person myself, right? He has these, once he gets an idea in his brain, as an example, we need to be a 2-line team. We need to have Nugent Hopkins on the top line. Whenever he gets an idea in his head, he is sticking with that idea until it is 130% positive that it is not working.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was. I think it might have been Gregor that asked, or I can't remember, asked about the moving Nuge to the second line at some point, and he. In fact, I'm sure it was Gregor. I've still got the clip. I took the clip and saved it. He didn't even answer it. Like he is. If we see that line back together, ever. I would be the most surprised I've ever been. The only reason, and I knock on wood, the only reason we'd see that line together again is if Connor got injured. If Connor spends a night out of the lineup, we see that line maybe together. Yeah.
I was gonna say if Glenn Gullickson's the head coach, but we won't go there. It's too early. It's too early.
Yeah, we're a long ways away from getting rid of Tippett. I'll tell you.
Oh yeah. How I've seen it, and I was I didn't need dynamite line back. I call it the dynamite line.
Yeah.
I didn't need it back together because the way I saw it, we only had 4 good forwards, and I wanted to have them 2 and 2. I think that makes sense, and I think Kahun and Draisaitl. I know there hasn't been points from Kahun yet, but they have looked really good in terms of passing it around in circles. They've actually looked really good to me. But I think Puljujärvi kind of showing up a little bit, and we're still waiting for it to fully arrive for him. But if the Oilers can manufacture a 5th competent top 6 forward, then you have so many more options. You can put Nuge wherever you want, right? And I think once Kahun gets going, and for me, like for Turris and Barrie, it's if they get going. But for me, with Kahun, it's when he gets going. Kahun has just looked too good on that line. As long as Tippett keeps him on that line, which stubborn Tippett will, he's going to start producing. And I look at this team, and with our current top 6 forwards, I think they're all potentially very competent in the top 6. And I think putting them wherever sounds great, but they have to just get going and be more consistent, I feel like.
Yeah. All right.
And no preseason plays a part in that too, right?
Yeah, it sure does.
It's not like they didn't have 7 games to get going. So it'll come.
We're up against Toronto next. Right?
Oh God.
Tomorrow night. We had obviously we had one successful game. I think this is a team that the Oilers get up for. Like I think they, there's a, while it's not, we don't play them a lot in a normal season. It's still a bit of a rivalry. Part of it's the McDavid-Matthews connection. Part of it's the McDavid-Toronto connection, right? And I think so. And part of it's the world against Toronto thing going on, right?
Oh yeah.
So I definitely think these guys get up for that game. What kind of lineup changes do you think? Like who's in, who's out? If you maybe I'll start with you, Ryan. If you're to make your own lineup changes, what would they be? And what do you think Tippett's going to do?
All right. So for the first Toronto game, assuming that Haas is not ready to go, which I don't think he will be, I'm probably going to keep Nuge, McDavid, Yessi, Draisaitl, Kahun, Yamo. Probably going to keep that exactly the same as it has been. I'm going to go Turris, Cassian, Nygaard, Neil, Shore, Prussell, maybe.
Okay.
Archibald. And then on defense, I think Bouchard has a back issue, so he's not really on the table right now. But we need Cuckoo in that lineup, and I'm just gonna sub out either Larson or Russell for Cuckoo. I think depending on what side Cuckoo wants to play, because Cuckoo has played both sides before in his career, so I think it just depends what side you want to put him on. But Cuckoo has to be in the lineup for me, and starting Koskinen. Obviously.
So before you go with that, you realize you're taking Larson out probably after his best game of the season.
Then take out Krussell.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Okay, and what do you think Tippett will do?
I think because my lineup wasn't that insane. It was pretty similar to what we've seen. So I feel like Tippett won't be that far off, but there's no way Joakim Nygaard's on the third line. That's the difference. I feel like we'll probably see Archie on the third line, and then maybe Kara again. I don't know. Kara is, and this blows my mind, but Kara is one of our 5 longest tenured forwards on this team.
Of all time.
How did that happen?
Of all time, he's in the top 5 of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, like who's been here like the longest? Like going back to the 2017 playoff run, McDavid, Nuge, Draisaitl, Cassian, and then Kara was like our 13th forward that year, and that's all that's left on forward. So, I mean, he's sticking around. Maybe he gets another game. I don't know.
Yeah, we still have guys. I mean, Ennis is still on the taxi squad. He doesn't need to clear waivers to get back into the lineup, right? So, I mean, he was dropped obviously in favor of Bouchard coming in, and that never came to pass because of the back issue. So we'll see what happens. Your thoughts, Ethan? What kind of lineup changes did you make?
Actually, I'm looking at the lineup right now, and there's not a lot that I would change. I'd like to see Devon Shore draw back in. I've been really impressed with him. Especially, I think he looks really good defensively and on the penalty kill. So I'd probably go him for Kara. And then if Haas is healthy, you're starting to notice that we're big Gaetan Haas fans. If he's healthy, he's absolutely in the lineup. And then Cuckoo for Krussell. Bouchard is... I'd love to see him draw in, but I don't know. Do you put him in for Barry, or I don't know who to take out, because
I forgot about Barry. That's it. Because if Barry's not playing the power play, because apparently Nurse is there now, so if he's not playing the power play, why is he in the lineup?
Yeah,
that's fair.
So, that's fair. I think as fans. There's a lot of us ask the same question, right? We'd sit back and say, why, he's got no utility on this team if he's not on the power play. However, the GM did go out and invest, 3.5 plus to get this guy on the team. And we're 8 games into a season on a new team without a preseason. You've got to give this guy a little bit of slack only because of that. And hope and that he's got more in him, right?
Totally.
He's better than he showed. It does come back to and I'll be the first to admit I thought we'd do better without Clefbaum in the lineup. I didn't think he brought that much to the power play. I didn't think he brought much, but he's
you feel stupid now.
Yeah, well, it's true. I mean, it's it's just how big of a difference he made. Although I'll have to say, 8 games in, I'm liking what Nurse and Bear are starting to bring, right? As a top pairing, I'm liking that. I knew Bear sat one game, but I think I really like Bear. I think he's still got a lot more upside, and this will be a good season for him.
Nurse has been fantastic,
and Nurse has been great.
Whoa,
I don't
he's
get
been so good.
I don't get why people are still on him. I think it's just because it's Nurse, right? And there
will always be a voice in my head screaming at Darnell Nurse because there are times when he plays more like a left winger than a left defenseman, but that's just his game, right?
Yeah, no, it's totally his game.
3 assists last game, I think, too.
He had 3 points,
offensively, and I think defensively he's been really good as well.
I give people crap all the time for, trying to get players to be outside their game, doing things that they just don't do. So I'm still learning to have that approach with Nurse. So
I think Grosnick, by the way, is back, or he can draw in tomorrow.
Nice.
Cool. Play Mikko.
Yeah. You don't want to see Grosnick in?
I think Mikko has been very under. Honestly, without Mikko Koskinen, we win maybe 1 game, and the rest of them aren't close.
Oh, know what? I totally disagree on that. And I going into the season, I was a big Koskinen fan. Not a big Koskinen fan, but I would have told you that most fans were being a little bit too hard on him. But I watch him. And then I watch, I've been watching most of the North Division games. Obviously, I'm not watching tonight. And these guys like the Holtbys, the Markstroms, the Prices, they don't give up. They're scrambling for every puck. They're like cats in the crease, right? They're moving. Their agility is next level. And Koskinen's just a big guy. That one goal last night, was it the 3-3 goal, the tying goal, where it goes off of his pads and goes out in front? He's just lost there. He hasn't tracked the puck well, right? Now, that's defense responsibility as well. But in my mind, a guy, and I'm not in any way I did not want the Markstrom contract for the Oilers. But a guy like Markstrom, he goes out of his way to get that puck or get in front of it or do something. Koskinen just is he's lost and he's down and he's using his size. His whole career he could use his size, right? And so he doesn't need necessarily the agility. I just think, those are the kind of moments where you need a goalie to come through for you, right? And that's what a goalie's for. All of these other pieces, and you know what I hate? I hate this because they always talk about going up high on the goalie, right? Pardon me. And don't worry, we're social distancing here. If you've got a weakness that's everybody in the league knows. I mean, how many goalies, do they talk about the specific weaknesses that a goalie has? But with Koskinen, everybody knows, right? High glove, right? And so to me, that's a problem. But obviously you're a Koskinen fan, so.
Okay, I think there's two reasons why, because I agree that Koskinen has not been the same goalie he was last year.
He was great last year.
But this is a two-part equation here. One, I think he's still trying to find his groove, right? Goalies that they have this rhythm about them, just the way they go about things, and I don't know if it's clicked yet for Koskinen. The second thing is the defense in front of him has not helped him at all. Koskinen has faced 80 more shots than any other goalie in the league. So now part of it is that he's playing a lot. He's played all 8 games.
Yeah. Right? Well, and that's he's played 4 more games than any other goalie in the league. So yeah.
But and some of the shots that he's had to face are just like they should not happen. The defense has got to tighten up. Mikko will be the first guy to tell you that he needs to be better. And I think he is better than he is playing right now. But
what's your thought, Ryan? Are you a Koskinen fan? So let me get it straight, though. I'm not blaming the season on Koskinen to date. Like, I'm not saying 3-5 is Koskinen's problem. Just like you were saying, coaching's a problem. But I think goaltending, and we can agree goaltending's a problem either way, whether you think Koskinen's great or not. Goaltending's still a problem because we need a backup. We need to give him a break, right? And maybe that's it. Even the early games, though, I just felt like he wasn't giving us the save when we needed it. So anyway, sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Okay, so Koskinen, I feel like he, if Koskinen wasn't playing as good as he has been playing, yeah, sure, we could be 1-7. But if Koskinen could be a bit better like he was at times last year, this team is 500 or higher. I feel like Koskinen is a goalie that will help make up. Like he's solid. He's very solid, and I feel like he can make up for defensive deficiencies to an extent. But this season he doesn't look like a goalie who can steal a game. He looks like a goalie who can play games and who can give you a chance to win. But he's not going to be a 3-star of a game. I haven't seen that form of Koskinen yet this year. It would be like I know against Toronto, our win against Toronto, we had like a 928. I think he was good, but that was a lot on the defense as well, and the power play finally being not cursed. But I feel Koskinen, he hasn't looked capable of stealing a game, but he looks capable of keeping us in games, which might be all you need if your special teams are clicking better. I'm a fan of Koskinen. I don't blame any loss on Koskinen. I blame 1 or 2 goals maybe on Koskinen, but yeah, I feel like that he still has room to grow, but I'm very thankful he has been as good as he has been, or else we are quite frankly screwed.
Yeah, I mean, key goals, both against and for, are always important, right? I mean, when you're up 3-2, if you score that fourth goal, it makes a whole big of a difference in the game. And then the reverse is true. If Koskinen lets in that game tying goal, the outlook goes the other way, which is how it happened last night, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, and now on defense, I mean, we talked about Barry, right? Obviously, I can't see them taking him out of the lineup anytime soon. Larson plays his best game, maybe of the season, last night, which is too bad because it was a poor effort all around.
Yeah, how does Larson have more goals than Taylor Hall right now?
Well, Larson's got more goals than most of the Oilers right now. Right?
True.
So, I mean, he's if you go down the go down the stat sheet, I mean, he's you got a lot of guys that haven't even put up a marker on the board yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's maybe we should note that one because the Taylor Hall Larson thing came up just the other day, right, on Sportsnet. I think they were talking about that.
It's yes,
the trade
thank
you'll
you,
never forget. Yeah,
we were all there. We all saw the trade happen.
Yeah, we know.
Thank you for
we know
reminding
who it
us.
was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I tell you. So you got Larson out there. I think you got to keep him in. I think you guys agree. You got to get Cuckoo back in, right? And I think the only person, Chris Russell, is the only one that.
Yeah.
Jones. I thought the Jones-Larson pair was actually pretty decent last night. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, Larson. Obviously, when you score a goal for a guy like Larson, everyone loses their mind. They're like, "Oh my gosh, he's awesome!"
He's got
and that's
two.
totally. Oh, he got 2 on the year. That's totally justified. I feel like, but yeah, he maybe had like one of his best games of the season in terms of like fantasy hockey. But I still feel like he could have been better on the penalty kill specifically, which I don't know. Like I didn't see an excellent game from Larson. He by no means draws out of the lineup, but yeah, I don't know. Like scoring a goal is nice, but he was on the ice for more than 3 against, I think, as well. So, yeah, I think Larson has for quite some time been underrated, and it might be the aforementioned Hall trade. Just looking at that value, but yeah, I have defended Larson in times past, but yeah, he hasn't been doing super great this year overall. I don't think defensively.
No, he's been bordering on awful. I think,
especially in a couple of games. But
yeah, I can't remember where I heard it, but somebody suggested, and I agree with them. 3 or 4 games ago, they definitely should have taken him out of the lineup. It's maybe a little bit harder now.
Yeah, just give him 1 game out.
Yeah,
1 game.
Yeah.
3 or 4 games ago. Yes, I even think maybe he comes out of the lineup before Ethan Bear.
Mm-hmm.
But Ryan, you know this. I'm president of the Adam Larson fan club.
and the Koskinen fan club. And the list goes
I just
on.
defend Oilers players. Apparently, yeah. I'm the anti Mark Spector.
And Remenda.
Larson's never gonna be appreciated as much as he should be, simply because we got him for Taylor Hall, who went on to win a Hart Trophy. I mean, there's no coming back from that. But
Norris?
Larson last year was, I'd say, our second best shutdown defensive defenseman. Adam Larson last year really impressed me in his play below the goal line and right around the front of the net. That's his strength. He's good at clearing pucks, pinning guys up against the wall. That's his strength. But then people expect him, for whatever reason, to be a puck mover or, to score goals, apparently, which he does now. But that's not his game. His game has always been the shutdown guy in and around the net. He got off to an awful start this season. That first game against Vancouver, yikes. maybe it's no preseason. I'm not trying to make an excuse for him. I'm just saying maybe this is what's happening. But I think that over the course of the season, there's been a few hiccups, but I'm seeing steady improvement from Larson. And I think that in 2 or 3 games, well, maybe not that quick, but soon we're going to be talking about Larson as, a guy who's brought it defensively.
All right,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to argue, right? I mean, he's got the capability, and what I always found interesting is you talk to any, or you talk to other players, or you hear their commentary on playing against Larson, and they'll all tell you that he's one tough son of a bitch, right? Like,
Yep.
he's hard to play against in the corners. The guys talk about him like that, after preseason, after training camp, right? Like he is, he's steady, he's strong, and you're certainly not looking at him to be a goal scorer. I'm happy that I actually was impressed last game with a couple of the rushes that he was doing, right? Like he looked like he was skating again and doing some of the things you want Larson to do. I was pretty impressed.
Maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs to pot a couple to get his mojo back.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. I think it's interesting. So in my case, what I would probably do, I would take Chris Russell out and put Cuckoo back in for sure. I was blown away that they took him out. To be fair, like it just doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
is he hurt?
Well, that was the thing, right? Everybody, that's the question, and maybe, I mean, sometimes it's hard to know, right? He could have needed a maintenance day or whatever.
But what I don't understand is if he needed a maintenance day, why didn't they just come out and say that? They said Bouchard's back was bugging him, so
yeah, they had an excuse for that one.
Yeah.
Again, I just don't understand some of these decisions.
I just want to point out.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have had 3 defensemen who are in our opening night lineup who have since been scratched a game. Jones, Bear, and Cuckoo.
Those are your 3 guys? Come on.
Those are the 3 guys who have been scratched since being in our opening night lineup. Why? Like, I get that Jones had some mistakes. He wasn't even close to the worst in that game before he got scratched. Like, I don't know. I just, like, I can whine all I want about the forward bottom 6. In the end, if we're winning games, I do not care what the lineup looks like. But, like, what's up with that defense? Why are those the guys that have sat? I don't really know why. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think I think that I mean that's a good question, right? Cuckoo's played very solid. He's as everybody keeps talking, he was exceptional against the Oilers in the play-in round, right? Like he did.
Again, we watched. Thank you for the reminder.
Exactly.
Thanks, Sportsnet.
Jeez.
And so and he's kind of carried that on, right? Like he seems to have a lot of confidence out there. He's played well with the guys. I really like having him out there. I do get putting Jones in with Larson, right? Like Jones is a puck mover, and it's good to have that kind of a pair, right? And I think Jones has really come along. Really good kid, and he's doing really well. A lot of people don't like Chris Russell. I like Chris Russell, right? Like the guy, you always know what you're going to get out of him. Last night was awful though, and so I think, right, like you take that and you use that as your excuse to take him out and put in Cuckoo, and maybe you do what Toronto's done a couple of times and seems to be a favored thing is put in 7D if Bouchard is all right to play, right?
Yeah.
And I'm all right with that. I do think, guys, though, that like Cuckoo in, Russell out. Obviously, like one of the big challenges for me right now is Barry, and I just don't think you can take him out of lineup. I don't remember who said it, but this is a team right now where normally you want to have a top 4D with a bottom 2. We've got a top 2 with a bottom 4. And so one of those bottom pairs needs to step up and be a top pair. And that could be Larson and Jones. It could easily, maybe if they get a little bit going for them. And what I would really love to see is Cuckoo come in for Russell, keep those pairs together for a little while. And if you need to draw in a Chris Russell or a Bouchard, you do that in a 7th D format, right? I think, and I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but I suspect you'll agree in some extent that bottom 6 forward is the real problem today, right? Like there's just, what more can you say? Guys have to finish. Like Kassian, as great a game as he had, right? Like he's got to score a goal, right? Like,
yeah, Kassian had the three dynamite chances, and he didn't do anything. And you're like, yo, Cassian's playing like for a split second, Kassian looks like not Kassian, and then the puck doesn't go in. You're like, yeah, that's 44 on his jersey, and yeah, I wish he would have gotten a hat trick last night. Even if we still lost 7-6, he needs to get it going. It would have been hilarious as well. So, and he had the chances. So
how many times do you and Puljujarvi's in the same boat, mind you, right? Like the guys had lots of chances. How long does a player get of chances, right, before they're Yakupov, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, like there's a lot of players out there with tons of potential, right? And Kassian, though, ever since the playoffs, has just never been the same. I can't remember who on Twitter said it, and I want to say, I'm going to get it wrong. Yeah, I don't remember. Anyway, the what she said was, Kassian plays better with the fans in there. And so there's a challenge right now with no fans in the stands that he's possibly having some challenges. I actually think pushing him to the third line was a little bit of a wake-up call for him, and he's played better ever since. I think he's a third-line player, to be fair.
Totally. Yeah, putting him on the third line seems to have woken him up a little bit. I really hope that after last game, with those chances at tip, it's not like, yo, line 1 again. Because I think third line is where he needs to be to thrive. For me, the difference between Kassian and Puljujarvi is, and we mentioned this earlier, Cassian's prime chances came off of things like a chance created by typically Draisaitl, or at least another player. And I think you look at the Kassian crossbar a couple games ago as well, that was all McDavid. So I feel like the difference between Kassian not scoring and Yessi not scoring is, Yessi's forechecking. Yessi is creating the chances, getting it to someone, getting it back, and then not capitalizing. I feel like Puljujarvi is like more of a driving force. Kassian does have the mindset and the speed to see a play developing, see an opportunity, and go and get a shot from it. Puljujarvi is, from what I've seen in his last 2-3 games, he can create the plays. So that's the differences for me. But yeah, just keep them on their lines they were on yesterday, please.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And I just want to say who it was that was saying that, because she's really great and fun to interact with on Twitter. It's Jackie B_16. So if you guys don't already follow her, and she's been on
quality follow
a couple times, so shout out to her. Your thoughts, Ethan, on that?
I was really hard on Kassian during the playoffs.
So not the Kassian fan club.
No, I like Kassian fine.
Yeah.
Like, I hope my mom doesn't watch this, because she is Zach Kassian's biggest fan on the planet, and I can't say anything mean about Zach Kassian. But I was really hard on. Give him one game against Matt Tkachuk, and I think the old Cassian will be back. That's my prediction. Because we got a game against the Flames coming up in what, a couple weeks here,
February
2
6th.
Early
weeks,
Feb.
Yeah.
Yeah, early Feb.
Yeah.
less than that.
I hope
So
that Chucky isn't suspended again the game against us for some other stupid stuff, and then there's no opponent for
whatever he does
Cassian.
next. But as for speaking of players, I am the president of the fan club for. Yes, he has been everything I had hoped he would be. He's having fun. He's smiling. The pucks aren't going in for him, but they're coming. He's had a lot of good chances. He's buzzing around the front of the net. He's using his body. Like I think he's had more big hits than Cassian, which should not be happening. But so yeah, I think if you look at all the guys McDavid has played with since he came to Edmonton, I think it's safe to say that the winger that had the most success playing with him was Pat Maroon, right? Ryan, how many goals did Pat Maroon score in 17?
27 goals.
27. Exactly.
Pat Maroon fan.
So,
yeah.
big rig fans over here.
Yeah.
Yes, he has all the tools to play a similar game as Pat Maroon, right? He's got the big body. Just go stand in front of the net and let the puck bounce off you. And don't let guys push you around.
The difference is a lethal right shot as well if he's set up properly for Yessi.
Yeah, it's Pat. Imagine having Patrick Maroon that can shoot and skate. That's Yessi Puljujärvi.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the same mean streak, but in terms of offensive production, that's everything you want in McDavid's winger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I like Puljujärvi. It's funny because you guys, you're having Reed on the show last time. Puljujärvi's got something, like fans love the guy. We haven't seen anything out of him yet, though. We saw a good game for sure. That game where he played on the top line, the first game. I'd say last game, it was hard to really understand, whether he had a good game or, he was just average, right? It wasn't
the first period he was great last game.
Yeah, the first period he was, yeah. And then there was a couple times where he was back to being Puljujärvi and he was all over the ice and I thought, what are you doing? And I saw him even getting McDavid's way a couple of times last game. And but the thing is, everybody loves this guy, right? Like they, might be the
guilty.
Like the tongue out of the mouth or whatever, like the smiles, like whatever it is. I mean, every time if they drill in on him with the camera after every scoring opportunity, he's got a huge smile on his face, like he just missed the best opportunity in his life to score a goal. And he's just a really likable guy. In fact, I was staying at the same hotel as the Oilers in Vancouver a couple of years ago when they were playing against Vancouver, and he walked by me and I said, "Hey, yes, and he, big smile. He didn't understand a word I was saying, but he still had this great big smile and it just seemed happy. Actually, it was the game he just got called up for, right? And I remember I yelled at him and I said, "I'm happy to see you back," and he just kind of looked at me sort of blankly. And he's just such a damn likable guy. But as a fan of the Oilers, like I still want to see something, right? Like I want to see more than, he's got this famed, shot, but and you brought Spector up. I mean, Spector is probably the hardest on Puljujärvi, right? Like he's right though. Like in the Finnish league, right? Like like you can score against those goalies with that shot, right? But this is the NHL, and guys are a little bit, the goalies are better. The style of play is better. You can't do the big rounding turns, and you got to do that first game though with McDavid on the top line. best game I've ever seen Puljujarvi play ever. And if he can continue that, like I want to be like you guys. Or maybe not like you. I want to be like every Oilers fan and put my utmost faith in the fact that we've totally screwed up this guy's career, and he's on the comeback trail to being, like better than Line, right? You know what I mean, right? I'm not there yet. I'm like about 40% of the way there because he's had one good game and one good period in the next game. And he's got to pot one, right?
I see so much potential. I just want him to get a freaking hat.
He will, though. The one thing that I don't think enough people are talking about is the fact that he's 22.
Well,
right?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean he was still a high first rounder, right? And there's lots of expectation, but it does show you the difference in the leagues, right? Like he'd have 10 goals by now, in in the Finns Finnish league, right?
Yeah,
like,
well, playing with McDavid, he may have 35 already. In the Liga.
Yeah. I mean, McDavid could just bounce him off of him in that league, right? And hey, I want to be a huge Puljujarvi fan. In fact, I am, because he's a likable guy, right? Like, there's nothing like how could you ever be mad at that guy, right? Like,
ask Speck. He seems to have the answer.
Yeah, Speck
or Jim Matheson.
Let's throw in Matty.
Matheson. I can't even believe you said his name on my show.
But you know what it is, though? It's I think, at least, Puljujarvi is what I imagine I would be like if I was good enough to make the NHL. Like, if I could be a professional hockey player, I would like to think that I would enjoy every second of it. And I have never seen anyone in the NHL or any other league, for that matter, have as much fun on the ice.
Well, I can tell you who did.
And
that's maybe where my and I brought his name up before, Yakupov. Yakupov had so much fun playing the game, right? Like, I mean, did you watch Yakupov when they did the season ticket holder gifts when they'd go to people's places? Like he'd walk into their place, he'd be like, "Is that pizza on the table? Can I have a slice?" Like he was just happy. I don't know if that's the kind of guy he was, though, right? And just the friendliest, happiest guy, having so much fun, and he could never get it done in the NHL.
I think it was.
I hope
it was a poor fit. I think when Yakupov came to Edmonton, I just think the way that the team was set up and the team that Dallas Eakins was trying to have but now this is a team, and I got to thank Ken Holland for this. This is a team that's going to be patient with its prospects. They're not going to rush anybody. You're going to get the opportunity when you're ready, and you're going to be put in a position to succeed.
Yeah, I like Puljujarvi. I want him to succeed, and I think he will. I do. I'm just not there yet. I wouldn't. I'm not at the point where I'd put money down on it, right? My heart wants it to happen because he is a likable guy and he loves playing the game. You can tell that, right? And he surprised me that first game. With on McDavid's line, up until that game, there were some sloppy sort of Puljujarvi-like plays in the games preceding that. In fact, I was surprised that they decided to put him up there because I wouldn't have done it. But the reason they did, in my mind, is because Kassian wasn't getting it done, and who else are you going to put up there? And then they put him up there for a line, and Puljujarvi is all of a sudden showing that he's, maybe a top 6 guy, right?
I feel like he's better in a top 6 role than a bottom 6 role. That's kind of looked like where he's meant to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Some guys, that's where they have to be, right? We talked about Turris earlier, right?
Yeah.
And that's so. Hey, And for the Oilers' sake, I want him to succeed. Could you imagine? I mean, if he carries on at the pace that he's going on and he starts potting some of these goals, right? Like he's got sneaky speed, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I
And he's
remember,
huge.
guy,
he's
yeah.
huge, yeah.
He's massive.
The only guy that I remember, and it's probably before you guys were old enough to know, but Lemieux was a guy that was sneaky fast, Mario Lemieux, and he was a big guy. And you didn't, and as a player, you know, when you're watching him play, like you didn't realize just how fast he was until like he was on somebody, like he was, you know, past them. And the other night, like Puljujarvi got, you know, he had that kind of mini breakaway where he, you know, pushed the puck into the pads there, and then he's in the corner, and again, you know, another Puljujarvi like moment. He looks like, you know, the best thing in the world, and he just missed it, right?
And that's Ethan's Twitter banner right now. If you haven't checked recently,
that's
I
love
love
that
picture.
yeah.
So much.
I actually did a GIF of it for game day as well yesterday because I yeah, it's just one of the funnest little times for him. But anyway, you know, he's got speed. I think he needs to like if he gets on a roll, then hey, you know, we're there. Like those guys could start scoring at will. If he does that, you think maybe you can throw Nuge down to the third line?
If Puljujarvi can be the winger that McDavid has needed, you can put Nuge wherever you want because that top line's covered. So
they will score. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're good.
So what I got out of that, Mike, was that we're comparing Puljujarvi to Mario Lemieux now. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sounds like we made a believer out of him, ladies and gentlemen. He's on the Puljujarvi hype train.
And Lemieux. Somewhere between Yakupov and Lemieux is where
aren't most players somewhere in between Yakupov and Lemieux?
Most players certainly are. That is correct. Yeah. Yeah, I can confirm. I've just looked. Your banner is in fact Puljujarvi.
What? You didn't believe me?
Oh no! I had to see it with my own eyes.
He's one of the three guys in my banner too right now.
See, how can you look at that picture and not smile?
Yeah, no. I look. As I said, I really like the guy. I can't I can't cheer against him. I mean, I'm not Spectre. Spectre seems to be all right cheering against him, but it's certainly not the case. You've got Haas in your banner. So
of course.
Yeah, so big Haas fan. Why is that?
Haas, Haas, Nugent, Yessie. Okay, why am I a Haas fan? He was the best player for that one game against the Blackhawks, and I'm sitting on a couch with Ethan here and two others, and we are, we're emotionally facing elimination, and we're watching Haas be so good, and we become the biggest Gaetan Haas fans within a matter of like 20 minutes, right, real time.
Okay, yeah.
And then his fantasies are awesome. I just like the guy. The name is really fun to say. He's the name Swiss Army Knife is just awesome. The nickname. So yeah, I love Haas. And then Nuge shares my first name. He's been here forever. I've always loved Nuge. And obviously, yes, he's the third guy in my bio, but.
It's hard not to love Nuge.
This is how our generation copes with trauma. We just make memes. And Gaetan Haas being an elite NHL center became a meme. So we just ran with it.
If you go back to August 7th, my Twitter, Ethan's Twitter, and our other friend Tyler Keller, TK on Twitter, you look at our tweets from August 7th. It's just like Haas. It's just a ton of Gaetan Haas stuff. It was insane.
The Oilers were out. What else were we gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was a pretty exciting player to watch, right? And
I think so.
It's so again, I mean, listening to all the guys today, I mean, one of the things that we got to keep in mind, and we're gonna sort of roll down here. The Oilers have had a little bit of bad luck. Already, just before the season even started, right? With Haas, and then of course they're about to start Smith. They call Smith as the starter, and then he comes down with an injury. Even last night you throw Ennis down with the risk of losing him, although I think it was a calculated risk. right? And to bring Bouchard up only to, find out that he's got, a tweaked back and he can't draw into the lineup. Of course, Clefbaum. The challenge with him is injuries, right? But the Oilers have had some challenges, right? And even Neil being out early, right? This is
that forced Chiasson into a power play role where he really did not look like he belonged. So that matters too.
Yeah. These are big things. I think that it's still early enough in the season that some of these things can go farther ahead. I'm still surprised you would still start Mikko over Grosnick if he's available.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. I'd actually I would start if Grosnick's not available. I'd start Skinner.
Why not?
I
watch their team scramble in front of him.
Yeah.
See what happens. It'd be kind of fun.
I would start Skinner over Grosnick if he looks really. I don't know how much they're practicing with such a condensed schedule, but if Skinner,
they had a day
looks real sharp in practice, and I could see them giving him a look, but I mean, Mikko's the guy right now. You're gonna, for better or worse, he's about all you got.
Yeah. I just think that they're not going to do any worse, right? Than they're doing, and so I kind of
put Grosnick in. Yeah. You'll see just how much worse it can get.
Hey, he's had two amazing games in the big league. He's had two amazing games in the big league. So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know, right? He could. Yeah, I mean, a lot of goalies have come in after being nothing to even look at Dubnyk, right? Nobody thought he would amount to anything. He got thrown down to the minors after he left Edmonton, only to be the saving grace in Minnesota for however long.
We're just playing all the hits tonight, aren't we? Dubnyk, Hall, Yakupov.
Dubnyk doesn't hurt me though, right? Like that's the a thing where a guy goes and he finds his game somewhere, right? Like a number of teams passed on him. The Oilers weren't the only ones.
We threw him to Nashville for Matt Hendricks. We threw him to Phoenix. We threw him through Montreal to Minnesota, and it took him that long. And he stopped in the minors for a stint, right? Like exactly.
Yeah, like there's of all the teams in the league, we're the only ones that gave him a shot before Minnesota, right?
And we got Matt Hendricks for him.
Yeah.
Instead of nothing on waivers. So that's a win in my book.
And Hendricks smashed his cup for us, like. Man,
Hendricks was one of my favorite players here. He was unbelievable.
Absolutely. And that freeze framer shootout move, the paralyzer. Oh, that was great.
Hendricks is good.
While we're at it, though,
we're talking good stuff.
While we're reminiscing about former Oilers, hey, remember that time the Oilers traded the greatest athlete that ever lived? Happy birthday, Wayne, by the way.
Yeah.
It was his 60th the other day. So
it
very
was.
Happy birthday to the great one.
All right, guys. We're gonna. Any last thoughts? I guess either of you start. We got Toronto tomorrow. I'm gonna put this pod up tonight, and we'll get it out there. Hopefully, we'll get. I know that you two are good for a few thousand listens, so we'll see if I can bring a few.
Maybe if I had like. My mother doesn't even listen to this. Like,
well, it's about time. You better tell her you were on the. You've made it.
Tell you what,
this is the big time now.
Best we can do is 3 listeners. Take it or leave it.
You've shared the same podcast now as Caleb Jones, George Larac, Reed Wilkins. So you've already been with Low Tide, I guess. You've already had a chat with Low Tide. We've had McCurdy and Staples on. I've had a few. We've done all right.
We're all in the same podcast cinematic universe now.
That's right.
Crossovers.
Yeah. I even had one of my, you guys, here's a pod idea for you before you go. And then I'll let you guys do your last thoughts. I had a hockey astrologer on in my first season, and I'm going to reach out to her and get her on again because I should go back and listen to that episode because I think she had some really interesting things to say. She did claim, right or whether it's true or not, I don't know. I didn't verify, but she said that there were hockey teams in the minor leagues that actually hired her, and players that. Pardon me. Oh man, I better go get a brain swab. I'm coughing here enough. All right. Anyway, man, I'm losing it. Losing it. All right.
I mean, we've had the High Priest of Oilers Magic on our podcast twice, and he predicted that McDavid would score 50 and 38.
Oh yeah, so before I did this, I listened to. I did listen to your pod before I did this, and I don't know that guy at all. I don't follow him or anything, but
great.
I did hear that 50 and 38.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm as much as I would. As much as I'd love to see that happen, I did think that there was a outside shot. Sort of my big prediction was that McDavid could hit 100 points this year. I think that's looking a little less likely. Although when he went into cheat mode at the end of the game last night, you just got to think anything's possible.
Totally.
It's really just a matter of whether or not he wants to.
You know how used to it we are? That it took us over an hour to even mention that goal.
That's insane.
Like he
where he goes in
broken ankle.
Mario Kart banana peels Mark Scheifele.
Exactly. Like he breaks his ankles and then he goes around and then shelves it.
Yeah. If we were like a Winnipeg-based podcast, we're probably starting with that. Like,
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. I mean,
this team sucks. No, they're terrible.
I saw that goal and I had a little yawn and went and grabbed some coffee and then settled in for the last 2 minutes. I mean, come on, this is McDavid. We've seen this before. Give us something more, right? Yeah. No, I mean, unreal. But really, the truth is we're so used to that now that's in fact, of all the stuff I listened to today, nobody mentioned that goal. they talked about
because we lost.
I know, but
that's what
that
it
goal
is.
Was ridiculous. Like it was literally, he's been playing at another level the last few games. Like he's trying to drag this team into a win streak,
kicking and screaming.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not even. We're not even talking about Draisaitl yet, who is still. Like he's ridiculous on his own, and I don't even think he gets half the credit because we're watching McDavid, do things that just don't seem humanly possible night after night. I'm extending this pod now by like 15 minutes, just like drooling over McDavid and Draisaitl, and as we should, right? We should pay our homage every.
We don't do enough
podcast.
We don't do enough drooling as Oilers fans. We need some more drool in our lives.
Well, and there's some truth to that, right? But it's still a sad day when we're 3-5 with the two best players in the league on our team running two separate lines, and continuing year after year to be close to 1 and 2 in the scoring race. That
and again,
bottom six has to do something.
When the Oilers win the Stanley Cup, no one will remember any of this.
Well, right? I will, because they'll say I was on a pod with Ethan when he called this. I'll say, man, if only he'd joined my pod again, because he's so damn popular after making this.
Being a prophet.
He's unlikely.
He's only doing the national syndications now. That's it. Not some lowly regional pod guy. All right. Okay. Final thoughts, guys. Jump ball. Who wants to go first?
Go for it.
There you go,
Oh,
Ethan.
shoot.
Bowman told you early. Look at that.
I would just like to say, I would like to remind all of your listeners and viewers, I guess. I've never I've never done a video podcast type thing before. Gaetan Haas is an elite center, and Sam Bennett is a bust. And I will leave it there.
Well, you for sure got half of that right.
No, I'm pretty sure that's all right. I'm pretty sure we're good there.
All right, Ryan.
My closing thoughts is not tomorrow, but the Saturday game against Toronto, we are for the first time wearing a reverse retros. Just want to remind everyone of that. Woo! So that's hype. Nice. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I agree with both of Ethan's statements.
All right. Well, I'm not going to do any commentary on the Gaetan Haas piece. Sam Bennett on the other hand. Because you know
we're right.
Yeah, because I know you're right. We'll see, right? We got to see Haas sooner than later. And then in July, then we'll know exactly how great a hockey mind you are, Ethan, when the Oilers
I didn't say this season. It's probably going to be like 10 years.
In July.
But
in July.
It will happen.
In July. Yeah. Well, Seattle's in. They're going to expand the playoffs even further. You never know. We might be playing in July.
Be a lockout season back.
My last thoughts of the night. The Oilers were 8 games in, 3-5. Some good things. This team, we talked about it all night tonight, which is guys got to start finishing. Right? We need to see more out of the Cassians, even the Puljujarvis, right? Cahoon is another, right? Turris is a big one. I would love to see Tippett do something a little bit different, like something maybe that the fans are asking for, right? Because it would seem that in the past season that when the fans have gone on him and he's made that change after being stubborn for a little while, it's usually been the right move to make, right? And so, when enough people are yelling there's a fire, the odds are there's a fire, right? And so he doesn't seem to feel that way. I don't think he's a really big problem. In fact, I love Tippett. I think he's doing a hell of a job. He's changed this team, and I sure hope that and I don't think they will be. They won't do anything too rash. I think we're going to come out flying against Toronto tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to the game. And I always look forward to the Toronto games because I think it's a new rivalry for us, and it's a good one. And so I'm going to enjoy that. Guys, thanks for joining me tonight. It's been fun. It's good to finally chat with you and interact with you. Keep doing what you're doing. Dan from Oilers Nation was talking about just the emergence of all the Oiler pods out there. There's, I think just over 1,000 now, and and everybody's got a good voice, and yeah. You're gonna stop at 10, right? Because you don't have enough fingers to go. Sorry. Anyway, you guys are doing a good job, and thanks for interacting on Twitter, and thanks for joining me on the pod. You can find these guys at YEGSports. That's YEGsports.com. Find their latest episodes there. There are a number of episodes in. They've done some collab episodes. They've been here. On Twitter, you can find these guys at it's just Ethan Bayduza, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? At Ethan Bayduza.
Curveball Bayduza Ethan.
Oh, sorry. And a curveball for Ryan as well at Mackney Ryan. So find them on Twitter. Make sure you give them a follow. And make sure you give them a listen as well. So thanks again, guys. Have a great night, and we're out of here.
From Section 204, Heavy Hockey Podcast with Michael and guests. Heavy hockey isn't dead. It's just getting started.